I mean, it's been clear to me for some time that the holier-than-thou BBC has been a hotbed of bias, and now it's been confirmed by none other than Auntie herself. After a complaint from a rightly concerned viewer, an internal investigation by the BBC's Executive Complaints Unit found the corporation broke impartiality rules over its negative coverage of Brexit last December. The offending segment on BBC One's Reporting in Scotland outrageously blamed our exit from the EU for Scottish businesses suffering, quote, a tough year, conveniently ignoring punishing lockdowns implemented by Nicola Sturgeon. This galling example is indicative of a wider attitude that permeates the corporation on almost every level and has resulted in viewer trust dropping 20 percentage points since 2018. So here's a reminder of a few of the times that the BBC hated on Brexit.
I suppose, looking at the crowd, it is a very white crowd mostly.
Why bother with a milkshake when you could get some battery acid?
I think your flag is not up to standard size government interview measurements. I think it's just a little bit small, but that's your department, really.
All Brexiteers are portrayed as racist, and then you come up with things saying postal voters in Peterborough thought they were ticking a box to choose a Tarka dal or a brinjal bhaji. I suppose this last comment will be considered racist. It is consistent, casual racism.
That's not casual. So Brexit campaigner and self-proclaimed Chief Gammon June Slater joins me now. June, is it time we stop forcing people to pay the poll tax, otherwise known as the licence fee, given we know, we have evidence now, the corporation just hates Brexit?
We shouldn't have to pay for it, should we? And we certainly shouldn't have to pay for people on big fat salaries like Gravy Lineker. Can't be bothered to call him Gary. The thing is, they've been totally biased through the Brexit campaign. Nissan was a shining example. They were putting stories out basically telling the world the plant was going to shut down if we left the EU. And I rang them up at the time and spoke to them, pretending that I had a grandson that was getting an apprenticeship. And I was very worried about his future if the plant was shutting down, and they categorically denied it. I rang them today, actually, just to double check that they're still going to be around, because this is what the BBC do. This is how they do it. The latest report in August about Nissan from the BBC, it shows this headline where the casting plant, after 30 years, is going to close down. That's how you see it from the BBC. Let's hang ourselves now. Yet right underneath it, from the Northern Echo, it begins their headline with nothing to worry about, no job losses at the plant. Now, which one do you want to read? And people only read the headlines quite often, so they know they're going to get Mr. and Mrs. Mush by reading the depressing one. And they've done it right throughout the Brexit campaign. They did it with P&O ferries. They did it with everything. They even lied about the ports, how they couldn't cope. I rang the ports up. I rang Southampton up. They said, it's a flick of a switch. We're ready to go. They even had the audacity. And this is what gets me. People, you just need to think outside the box. The BBC showed an aerial shot of the M20 going to, I think it's the M20 going to Dover, to the Channel Tunnel and the ports, and it shows it chock-a-block, right? That motorway was built as a 3-lane motorway because it was always going to be used for Operation Stack because of French disputes at their side of the channel, not because of British stuff. So I rang the BBC. I said, I've just seen your report, about how it's going to happen. Yes, well, it's going to be like that. I got through to the news desk. And I said, well, how have you got a photograph of it? How have you got a photograph of it existing now? We haven't left yet. There's the lorries queued up, and you're telling us that's because of Brexit. We haven't even left, and you've got a picture of it. So it's obviously another reason. So they're just biased about everything. They get an amazing £5.3 billion. That's what they got in 2021. 3.8 billion of that is funded by the licence fee. So 1.5 billion is commercially gained from subsidiaries. Now, if they can raise that sort of money commercially, why can't they raise some more? Channel 4 is government owned. And what we've got to be careful of here with defund the BBC, got to get shut of Channel 4 as well, because all that will happen is